Good morning, my dear students. Today, I, Dr. Seema Maheshwari, welcome you all in the e-lecture based on Environmental Acts and Regulations. After going through this lecture, you all will be able to understand various acts and regulations related to environment. To begin with, we must understand the term what is act and what is regulation. An act is a legislation passed by parliament. Acts set out the broad legal policies. It can only be amended by another act of parliament, whereas regulations are subsidiary legislations required publishing in the Gazette. In the government framework, three main bodies controls pollution: State Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The ministry portfolio is currently held by Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Functions of State Pollution Control Board: prevention and control of pollution streams and wells, investigation and research related to aspects of water pollution, the control of discharge of waste into streams and wells, imposing penalties for violation of acts. Functions of Central Pollution Control Board: to promote the cleanliness of streams and wells in different areas of a state, to coordinate the action of state board and resolve the disputes among them, to establish laboratories for analysis of water samples. Functions of MOEF: promotion of environmental education, training and awareness, implementing legislation and controlling pollution, environmental clearance for a project, environmental policy, planning and research, forest conservation, development and wildlife protection, and afforestation, which means planting trees on an area of land in order to form a forest. Although many acts have been framed so far, but we take here some major acts to study. The major acts are the Environment Protection Act, Wildlife Protection Act, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, the Air Prevention and Control the Pollution Act, the Forest Conservation Act, the Motor Vehicle Act. So, here we discuss Environment Protection Act. The Constitution of India clearly states that it is the duty of state to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. The Department of Environment was established in 1980, which became Ministry of Environment in 1985. Environment Protection Act came into the force soon after the Bhopal gas tragedy, which we all are very much aware of, and is considered as umbrella legislation act as it behaves like umbrella as it fills many gaps in the existing laws. The objective of Environment Protection Act are protection and improvement of environment, prevention of hazards to save living organisms, maintaining cordial relationships between human beings and environment, to frame rules to regulate environment pollution. The main objective of this act, Wildlife Protection Act, which was passed in 1972, is to preserve biodiversity. Biodiversity means variation of life at all levels, and this topic, biodiversity, we will study in details in the next e-lectures very soon. To protect and conserve wildlife, to maintain essential ecological process and life support systems. The Water Act was the culmination of over a decade of discussions and deliberations between centers and states. The main objectives of this act are to prevent and control water pollution, to establish central and state boards for the prevention and control of water pollution, to provide and confer power and functions to the central and state boards to resolve wholesomeness of water, maintaining and restoring the water, establishment for prevention and control of water pollution. It establishes standard for the quality and effluent in change, improve the water quality, and proper use of water. The Air Act was enacted by the Parliament to implement the decision taken at the United Nations Conference, and the topic of the conference was human environment, which was held in Stockholm, in which India also participated. The objective of this act are to provide for the prevention, control, and abatement of air pollution, to provide for the establishment of central and state boards, to lay down the standards to maintain the quality of air. Forest Conservation Act mainly deals with the conservation of forests, and main objectives are to provide protection and conservation of forest, to check deforestation as it causes ecological imbalance and deteriorate the environment. Any offense to harm the forest punishable under this act. Forest officers are appointed by government for purposes of our duties and objectives under this act. The Motor Vehicle Act, passed in year 1988 by Indian Parliament, regulates almost all aspects of road transport vehicles. It has provision for traffic regulations, vehicle insurance, registration of motor vehicles, controlling permits and penalties. Motor Vehicle Amendment Act, which was passed in 2019, is being implemented in the country now. The new act has increased fines. Now, driving without license will be fined rupees 5,000 instead of rupees 500 earlier. The main objectives of this act are to reduce and control the traffic pollution. It is the authority empowered to issue the license for driving motor vehicle as license authority. It checks and make the criteria for determining the fitness of the vehicle. I hope you all have a brief idea now about the main acts and regulations. Finally, I end with the famous quote of Mahatma Gandhi: Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. And we must understand this. Thank you, all of you.